The light glares, I can't see the time of it. There we go.
Oh, and it's gonna get toasty in here too, so be prepared, everyone. Be prepared.
Just thinking that. Look at us. It's scary.
Brent, did you say you got those at
Don't like it?
Yeah, it was really
That your
good.
name is
It
not
was
the
really
same.
good.
It's like a Nutri-Grain?
It's almost like a fig Brent. It's not.
It does kind of
It's
sound like
a little more
or that.
grain, like it's probably better for you, like outside part than that.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
What does well, now you know where he keeps something.
They're stealing his snacks. I'll be using my key card after hours to come in. There'll be no snacks. There'll be no snacks left.
Trail of wrappers out the way out the building.
Right?
We'll know where to follow them too.
I could make it like a game, right?
All right, everybody, welcome. It is 7 o'clock. I am going to call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Mock.
And Conrad?
So, oh my gosh, I haven't done that yet. Okay, motion by Councilmember Conrad or whatever she's going by this week. Second by Councilmember Pasco. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, can we get a,
And I'll add my name to the roll call. We have to do a roll call vote.
yeah.
We're just gonna go through.
We're, oh, she, Brenda will take care of that.
Okay.
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. All right, I am going to just switch things around a little bit and do the consent agenda next, of which I would like to pull off item 7.4, please. So if I can get them,
I would make a motion to pull item 7.4 from the consent agenda.
I'll second.
we have a motion by Councilmember Pasco and a second by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion?
Mayor Johnson, do we need to, can we just approve the consent agenda without 7.4? Because of the way
I
I
think
thought
we-
it was worded was just that we were pulling it, unless I,
That
Let's
would've
get a
been
legal
fine, too.
opinion.
There's a couple ways you can do it. I think right now we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded, so as long as you approve that, then you can next approve the consent agenda.
Go back to that.
And then
Okay.
go back to 7.4.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay, thanks.
All right, so we have a motion to remove 7.4. Let's take a vote on that.
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. All right, now can we approve the consent agenda with everything but 7.4?
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda without item 7.4.
Motion by Councilmember Pasco,
I'll,
Second, no, go ahead, Lori.
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. You were right, we did not do that the most direct way. Okay, I wanted to pull off item 7.4 because I think that this requires a special recognition this evening. We are approving a resolution acknowledging and accepting, acknowledging acceptance and appreciation for a donation from Robert Skiplow in the amount of $3,000 to the Carver Fire Department. Thank you. I really appreciate this. No. That's why I'm pulling it off, is because I'm so excited for it, and I just wanted to make sure that we recognized you. Otherwise, we just would have approved the consent agenda, and I thought that this was something that deserved a little bit more recognition. So I'm going to read the resolution out loud. It's a resolution acknowledging acceptance and appreciation for the donation. It says, whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires that cities accept donations for the benefit of its citizens in accordance with the terms prescribed by the donor, and whereas Robert Skip Lowe has graciously donated $3,000 to the Carver Fire Department, and whereas the donation was made towards the purchase of a rapid intervention safety bag, and now therefore be it resolved that the City of Carver and the City Council and the City of Carver accepts the above donation, and be it further resolved that the City of Carver, along with the Carver Fire Department, expresses its sincere appreciation and gratitude for this generous donation. And then it'll be adopted by the City of Carver on this 4th day of May 2026. With that, I make a motion to approve item 7.4 from the consent agenda.
I'll second.
A motion by Johnson, a second by Conrad. Any further discussion? Right. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco. Aye. Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Can we get a picture? Let's do it. Yep, oh yeah. We'll have you stand.
I don't know.
This is how we sit.
See? Can we see anybody?
We kind of have a side seat.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Tuesday or what?
Great, thank you. Okay, going back, is anybody here tonight for community comment? All right, so up first, under presentations and reports, we'll be hearing from the Lower Minnesota River Watershed District with Will Lytle, the administrator, and Kyle Bakkum, our commissioner. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. I am the administrator of the Lower Min, Will Lytle, and I've been with the district for just coming up on a year, and I'll pass you over to Manager Bakkum.
My name is Kyle Bakkum. I've been a manager of the Lower Min since last November. I was appointed by Carver County last November, reappointed in February of this past year, and I'm a resident of the City of Carver. I live up on Mulberry Lane. My wife and I moved here about 3 years ago. Beautiful city, beautiful area. We're so glad that we're here. So thank you for having us tonight.
And Kyle, it's completely unrelated, but on, Thursday nights and Monday nights and Sundays in the fall, what team do you cheer for?
What team do I cheer for? Well, I'm a Viking fan.
Oh, I thought you were a Packers fan.
No,
Is your
no,
son
no,
that's
no,
a Packers
no,
fan?
no. My wife's the Packer fan.
Okay, okay. Shoot. Okay. Well, that didn't go the way I
It's a
wanted
treat. I
it
see the
to.
Vikings every Sunday. Now
Okay.
up here in Wisconsin, you didn't.
Your son is a Packers fan.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And my son is the Lutheran pastor at East Union outside of town here. He's the Packer fan.
Okay.
Why don't you stop fishing for Packers fans?
You're cutting in and out, Eric. Hard to hear you. Okay, sorry.
And I would like to mention that Manager Bakkum is an excellent example of our feeder program. So he joined the community, got somehow enrolled into our Citizens Advisory Committee, and very shortly after he joined our Citizens Advisory Committee, he was, I believe, appointed to be the chair. And then there was a vacancy on our Board of Managers, and he was asked to step in. And so in the span of about 6 months with the district, he very quickly filled an important role, and we definitely appreciate the City of Carver and the County of Carver for sharing him with us.
And I appreciate that. In my retirement, we moved up here to be closer to the kids, but volunteering, whether it's with Lower Men or we're a volunteer over at Carver Ridge Senior Living, it's important to give back just like all of you folks are doing as well. So we just really enjoy being up here and serving.
Great, thank you.
All right, now the Lower Minnesota River is one of the oldest watershed districts around, but it's an unusual one. So we were founded about 65 years ago. Last year was our 65-year anniversary. And most of the watershed districts and watershed management organizations try to roughly follow the surface water hydrological boundaries. Now, hydrological boundaries it's not really a binary yes or no. There's surface water, there's groundwater, many levels of it, and then there's kind of the historic function versus the current. But the Lower Minnesota River was essentially 5 counties that got together to say something's going on in this floodplain, and we need an entity, essentially a regional group, to manage what's going on there. And so you could say we've been described as essentially a hot dog bun around the river. And you could say, either that core, that floodplain, or bluff to bluff. Our boundary obviously is not exactly in that 100-year floodplain. But what's unique is that for watershed districts and WMOs, it's very uncommon that they include the river itself. In many cases, they come up to the boundary. The river boundary is where they end. And for this location, we have Ramsey, Hennepin, Scott, Dakota, and Carver County. And what the realization here is that it was not just environmental, it was not just a flooding, but also the management of sediment that was coming down the river, and then the economic development related to channel maintenance and dredging. And so since its founding, since it was established, it really had this unusual balance of economic development and environment, of human uses, as well as, what's needed in order to make this river livable and prosperous. Before I was brought on, and before Manager Bakkum was on the board, the Rapidan Dam failure really brought a lot of attention to that main channel of the river, and really who was responsible for the water quantity and quality there. And our board had some listening sessions. I think there was participation quite broadly. And our board started to think about, essentially how do we understand how to govern this really complex system, not just for the next 1 or 2 years, not just the next 10-year planning process which we're in, but for the next 100 or 150 years to ensure that investments are going where they need to make sure that we're protecting our quality of life. And so I was brought in essentially under that mandate of understanding, what's the best, if we were to dissolve everything, what structure would we put in place to make sure that our values are supported? And this image off to the side here is from the most recent nutrient reduction strategy, and it shows the area in red. Much of it is part of the basin of the Minnesota River, and so the sediment and water quantity and quality that's that is received by the City of Carver, in many cases, is coming in from that larger body. And so we've been listening. We've been participating in a variety of what's unique about our district, again, is we touch so many other counties. Well, we also touch 2 One Watershed, One plans. We touch maybe 5 other watershed districts. We touch WMOs around strategic planning bodies. we have a very limited administrative capacity, but a lot of it is spent in essentially collaborating with other planning infrastructure. And we've been hearing about how essentially we need a new approach, not just from our managers, but from all of the stakeholders we engage with. And so essentially we're here to, called for, renewed engagement and support and coordination with, we know that there are a lot of big projects that Carver has coming up, and that we're excited to, the role of the district we're realizing is not really about saying yes or about saying no, it's about saying how. How do we balance, these difficult decisions that we make and the trade-offs that we make in order to ensure that we can move forward with what we need to. And so there are a lot of things that are stealing people's time and attention, and the economy is in turmoil, but we're essentially asking to share a little bit with us, and the reasons why is because essentially we're entering a watershed management plan, and we're not saying that oh, don't worry about that, some other agency covers that, or don't we can't think about what the DNR is doing or the MPCA is doing. We're realizing for our watershed district is if not us, who's going to touch these topics? And so talking about things like PFAS, microplastics, pharmaceuticals in the water systems, and really making sure that it's not that we can address all of them, but really understanding where they fit in the discussion, and ensuring that they are addressed by the responsible parties. And this has been kind of an evolution in terms of how we're engaging with some of the stakeholder groups, and really it's moving moving away from kind of a binary or us versus them or right versus wrong. Our board is, really realizing that we need to recognize that there are impacts from all sectors and land use types. It's not just urban versus rural or left versus right or north versus south, and that we need to utilize, the best decision-making tools, the best models and forecasting to find, the fair understanding of cumulative impacts, as well as encouraging people to think about what excites them. Adventure races, citizen science, restoration projects, parks and recreation, and of course, common sense regulations. We hear so often from businesses and commercial groups now that we're engaging them more closely, that when they pull a permit for a project, the DNR says no. And they don't say, they don't really know how to make it through the process. And finding more and more that the county, the state, the feds, they all have the bureaucratic red tape, and it's so difficult to translate interest and action into an impact. And we're recognizing that our role may not need to be setting stronger rules or setting stronger regulations. It may be enhancing and helping people navigate those systems to actually have an outcome. This is an example of as we're reviewing our watershed management plan. Right now, essentially, the district utilizes two main sources of revenue: property taxes and some grant funding, essentially from state appropriations. And we use those top two boxes in the column on the left to essentially do everything in the column on the right. What we're realizing is essentially there are certain types of things that have been dramatically underfunded, or that it's not appropriate to use property taxes for. So an example of it's probably inappropriate to use property taxes to deal with remediation of brownfield sites in some cases. PFAS cleanup, that's not something that residents of the City of Carver should be paying for, down at a landfill or at the airport. And so figuring out exactly, what types of funding models are out there, and applying the ones, we can't apply all of them because of our limited capacity, but figuring out the ones that line up with the projects that need to be done. And of course, engaging with the systems approach, recognizing that, it's not just the water that lands, in our yards or on our streets, it's also the water that's embedded in the products and services that we're consuming, or that are disposed of in landfills or waste in the communities. And so, really understanding how to engage with strategic thinkers and technical experts to ensure that we're adopting durable and replicable approaches for the fair governance of these systems. And so this is our last slide. We do have some images, but nothing urgent. And so, how to strengthen our relationship. Of course, you're already sending people to our Citizens Advisory Committee and our Technical Advisory Committee, so thank you very much for that. The City of Carver has, obviously, it's not the largest municipality. However, I think I've been here probably more than any other municipality in terms of cost share walks of people that are, adopting rainwater systems, creek restorations, and so you have an unusual role in terms of the way that you engage with the river, and I think your exposure to some of the risks and rewards of the river system much more intimately than some of the downstream communities that we represent. I'll help spread the message that one of our goals is essentially the river right now for City of Carver, and I think for many communities upstream of you, the river represents your greatest liability. And we would really like to see a structure that allows us to see the river as our greatest asset. And that will require all sorts of different types of financial assistance and safeguards, and flood infrastructure is an insurance. Those are not easy things to navigate city by city, and they'll require of course federal and state action to understand. Development is not over for Minnesota. There are other communities that around the world that are going to be struggling with water quantity issues, and Minnesota's well listed as a destination for those communities, and so we essentially need to be ready for what those changes in demographics and development hold for us. And so if there are big picture thinkers, either from your community or from the people that you work with, please encourage them to engage with us in our plans, our proposals, presentations. And then I think starting in June, we're going to be, starting this month, but we have our next board meeting in Eden Prairie. But then if there are months coming up, we would be very interested in holding a board meeting with the city, and possibly doing a joint meeting so that our board members and staff and residents have a chance to understand your experiences and needs and perspectives a little bit more closely as we move into our planning phases as well.
What questions do you have for us?
Questions, Council?
How often does your board meet? Monthly, quarterly?
So we have a regular meeting the third Wednesday of every month, and then we have two committee meetings. Well, yes, we have a personnel and a finance committee meeting that's on the second Wednesday of the month, but we also have a Citizens Advisory Committee meeting that is monthly, and then a quarterly technical advisory committee, so 4 to 5 times a month.
And in regard to the board, I think I'm the newest board manager, but Will and the rest of the less than 3 years experience, and that's a positive, and what I mean by that is Will referenced 65 years the district has been here, and it's been just going along, but now we all believe that maybe it's time that we start thinking about how we do things a little bit differently. How do we collaborate with more people? Because again, this river, just a stone's throw from us, what an asset that is, and could be even more. And all the things that we've been doing, still the river isn't quite maybe what we want it to be. And so maybe what we've been doing for 60-some years hasn't accomplished what we want to accomplish. And we have a group of people that are really open. Well, let's maybe look at it in a different way. And working together with all the stakeholders, having good communication with all the stakeholders, how do we move forward together to make something different?
I should also mention, we're saying very generally, we have lots of ideas and we've received lots of ideas, but it's our board's position that we're not going to say this is what's going to happen until we've essentially vetted those across our Citizens Advisory and Technical Advisory Committee. So to expect in about a year, you might hear a more well-formed conversation on what those ideas look like.
Any other questions?
There have been some concerns in the past with upstream representation and the board being dominated by downstream users, and that resulting in lots of funding coming from places like Carver County, but without the services and development and things. Dredging, for example, really stops at Savage. Those sorts of things. Do you have plans to address those?
Yeah, so the answer to almost all of the concerns that we've heard are, it's really complicated. And so I think, you've mentioned, that actually probably had 3 different concerns built in there. And the answer is yes, we have a line by line, we essentially have, some of them are misconceptions, they're just misquoted. And so we have those interpreted, and some of them are not, quite a yes or a no answer. And so we have those outlined. We're building those into our annual report because we do have a long-standing set of questions and concerns. The representation's a good example. The 5 counties that initially founded the district, each county had 1 seat. And Ramsey did not have residents that were a member at some point, and so they allocated their seat to Hennepin County. So Hennepin has 2 managers, Ramsey has no manager. Scott County has grown in terms of its size and its taxable base, and so they would like to take one of Hennepin's seats. And Hennepin says no. So this is not my, obviously this has nothing to do with me really. I'm not a resident of either of those places. And the board has essentially offered to add another seat so that there would be 6 members of the board and Scott County would have 2 seats. And Scott County has said, we do not yet want to, accept that as the resolution. The dredging, the money going for dredging, in 2017 there was a benefits study done. And essentially, it was identified who was benefiting from the channel maintenance, and there was going to be a special tax assessed. And instead of that special tax going into effect, the state decided to appropriate funds of about $240,000 a year that would come to the district. So the majority of dredging and dredge management has been well covered by those state appropriations. So your local taxpayer money is not really going to subsidize dredging that benefits, I'd say, mostly Scott and Dakota counties. At this time, if that appropriation goes away, as far as I can tell, the major thing that Carver County and the City of Carver residents are subsidizing that would be kind of mystifying when you look at the budget is really in relation to WMOs, and watershed districts have a different role when they're reviewing public projects. Watershed districts cannot charge public entities for project reviews and inspections. And the biggest layer there is MnDOT projects that take place near the floodplain and the river, and bridges and river crossings. WMOs are not able to intervene on those where watershed districts are. And so right now we would be subsidizing a variety of MnDOT projects. And the interesting thing here is that the state agencies also don't necessarily intervene in each other's projects. So we hear from the Department of Health, here are the major concerns associated with infiltration of chemicals from MnDOT projects, and we then have to communicate that back up to the Department of Transportation. And so there are all sorts of little things in there that obviously our managers have never really designed in. It's just a part of the way the statutes function that we're in many cases kind of caught in the middle of. The upstream element, I would say, is something that our technical advisory committee just identified that they would like us to engage more closely officially with upstream and downstream groups. The downstream groups essentially would hold us accountable to our plans and our targets. So example, Lake Pepin receives much of its sediment that's filling in their lake from the Minnesota River. And so if we set our goals at the wrong level, Lake Pepin will let us know. And upstream, essentially, for us to understand the lived experiences and the way that projects run and the capacities of residents and developers and planners upstream of us. There is an example. We did just receive a planning grant from Bowser in January that was about planning for water storage in Bevins Creek. And we had worked with the Scott County Soil and Water Conservation District to design that plan specifically to have an impact. And the goal would be that if we could slow down water and store sediment before it hits the City of Carver, that would benefit our whole district. Now there is a bit of a maybe dispute between Carver WMO, and that project has been paused. And so we can share more details on that on the line by line. I think what it really comes down to is this district has been tremendously under capacity, essentially running at the absolute minimum for about the last 55 years. Its last watershed management plan, so we're in our 6th watershed management planning process. The last one is when they really decided to meet the statutory obligations for a watershed district that were came in the 1980s. And in that process, the capacity didn't grow at a rate to be able to fully maintain all of the relationships that were being developed. And so, I'd say miscommunications and balls have been dropped associated with that lack of capacity.
Now, I know last summer we had some issues with the Miriam Junction Trail and having that log jam. I know we figured it out eventually. Have we gotten that, with the Miriam Junction Trail becoming a permanent feature and affecting the navigability of our water right here, just on the other side of this area, do we have a management plan for if we have any? Okay.
I would say that Miriam Junction, so before I took the job, I think the night before my interview, I kayaked up and down the river and visited that spot. And I thought, oh man, that construction bridge is really low. I'll have to revisit that and see what happens when the water rises. And I revisited it, I was like, oh no. There was a surprising answer. We started documenting and communicating some of the concerns associated with that log jam. And it was a great example of there are all sorts of agencies that have a little slice of responsibility, but there was no entity that we could find was responsible. So the DNR does a little bit, and Scott County as the project owner had a little the Army Corps of Engineers intervenes in certain cases. What you don't know probably is that just downstream of you, there was a bridge in Shakopee that also had a log jam that was massively eroded. Their log jam is still halfway intact and is still, I believe, causing some erosion. The DNR showed up and scooped half of that out, but it sounds like that might have been based off of very, very specific political pressure that came in. So the answer is surprisingly not, I would say, not a good enough reaction to meet anybody's reasonable standards. And I think the concern was really that what we were not seeing were the action thresholds. So here is the threshold where the local or the individual contractor is responsible. Essentially, they said it's flooding, act of God, we're pulling off the river, we're not responsible. So the next question is, okay, then who intervenes at this stage? They said if the water goes down, we get back to work. And the question is, what if the water goes up? Or what if the community upstream clears their log jam and their logs join your logs? So if you had cleared your log jam, it would have hit Shakopee and it might have washed out a major bridge. And we know somewhere downstream there's another community that's playing that same game. And essentially there's no coordinated, adaptive decision-making platform where all of those communities are sequentially engaged. The technology exists, the data exists, but that coordinated decision-making is there's still some gap there.
Yeah, I mean, just talking to residents who've been kayaking that river for 50 years, it's not an unusual event.
No. And I think that the construction phase is different than the maintenance phase. And,
yeah,
we'll
but
need
even before the bridge was there, log jams happen in that particular part of the river. So, yeah.
Eric, any questions from you? No?
Nothing from me, just an
Okay.
informative discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't have any questions. Thank you for coming. We did receive, I think it was $100,000 from the Lower Minnesota River Watershed District way back. God, it was a remote meeting, so I think it was 2021 for our levee project, and are still grateful for that. That's a project that we're moving forward with and hope to have shovels in the ground a little bit later this year. So
Looking forward
continued
to it.
thanks and gratefulness for that donation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
guys.
much.
Thank you. All right. 5.2 is future improvements to CSAH 11 and CSAH 10. Mr. Schmidt.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to ask two gentlemen to come up here tonight, and I'll be leading a presentation, the slide deck. But this is a transformational project in Carver County that's going to be happening over the course of the next several years. So we thought it was appropriate to get together with you tonight and fill you in on the County Road 10 and 11 project just to the north of us here. Really, like I said, it's a main thoroughfare through the county, and it touches a lot of communities in either a direct or indirect way. So really, I think it's important for you to know what's going on. So that's why we asked these gentlemen to come over tonight and give an update on the project. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the slide deck. Just give me a second here.
While he's doing that, I'm Lucas Rubash. I'm the project manager from Carver County.
Mike Larson with Bolton and Mank, assistant project manager. All right.
Okay, go ahead, guys.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you guys and kind of give you a brief intro to our project. We'll just kind of talk to you about what we've been up to, where we're headed, what to expect with the project, which will really take place over the next 4 or 5 years, really. So go ahead, Aaron. So our project area, as Aaron said, we're up on Highway 10 at the north end of town. We've got really 3 separate projects woven into one very large project for the county. The limits here are shown on the map in front of you. The blue is the limits of our Highway 10 project, where we're looking at expanding that roadway. It trickles into the west side of Chaska near Creek Lane, all the way out to County Road 43 in Victoria. Our Highway 11 portion of the project, that orange line going up and down, goes from the north side of the railroad tracks by the Huntersburg development all the way south of Highway 10 near Guernsey Avenue. And then we are looking at Highway 43, really realigning one leg of that county road to meet the other. That's a very long-term project at this point, but it's more so planning for next steps into the future. So some of the major goals of our project, the area is growing a lot, and with that we're seeing a lot of traffic concerns, congestion, safety problems, things like that. We know all of our stakeholder communities, Carver, Victoria, Waconia, and Chaska, are all growing. So we need to be able to accommodate that growth and help support the region with this really important county road. And with that residential growth comes demand for trails, bike facilities, things like that. And then also really respecting the rural environment that's out there today. The county did do a study of the corridor maybe 6-7 years ago now, so we're picking that up again, taking a look at some of the finer details and deciding, is this really what we need to do now that more developments come in and we really know what the future might look like? So that project really recommended expanding Highway 10 from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, really through our whole project area, and then modernizing Highway 11 with curb and gutter, medians, things like that. It also recommended some bigger improvements like that Highway 43 realignment, and also a realignment of Highway 10, sort of towards the west section of the project. And we're also looking at evaluating grade separated railroad crossings. We've got 2 at-grade crossings today, which can cause delays and have some safety concerns with those, so that's another thing we're looking at here. So really here, this is kind of a summary of all the issues we're contending with. We've got a lot of traffic growth that's expected just due to all the development in these communities. We've got some safety issues at a few spots along the project area. We've got those 2 railroad crossings, and it's a really challenging area to widen the roadway. We have a lot of wetlands, challenging topography, vegetation, houses close to the existing roadway. So it's not as easy as just widening the roadway and let the traffic come. So we're really trying to find the best balance of what meets what's out there today and what the future needs are going to be. This one, again, this hits on really the growth. This is the why of the project. All the communities in this area are top 10, top 5 projected growth communities in the state. We know the traffic volumes today are going to be much higher in the future, and we're even seeing that today with all the construction on Highway 5 in Victoria, Chanhassen, where a lot of people who used to take Highway 5 are now taking Highway 10 during that construction, so we're getting a taste for what it's going to be like for years to come. Throughout the project, we will be engaging with the public to make sure everyone's voices are heard, and we're showing our progress as we go. We did have one open house back in February. It was very well attended, so there's a lot of interest from this. We had over 130 residents at that, so stay tuned for more open house events, pop-up meetings in town through the next few years to kind of gauge the public on what they think on what we're considering and just keeping people in the loop on what's going on. Overall schedule, so right now we are in study mode, really collecting data and figuring out what's the right thing to do, and then once we kind of land at a preferred alternative, we'll start designing on that in the next few years. Construction is planned for 2028 on Highway 11 and then 2029 on Highway 10, so this is a few years out. And then, as I said, that Highway 43 portion, that's just a study at this point. No funding for constructing that is planned at this time. That's all we had for you today. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
I'm excited to see 10 at 4 lanes. My kids go to school in Waconia, so we drive from here to Waconia every day.
A slow drive.
It can, if you get one person going under the speed limit, we're late to school, so.
Yep, I've heard part of that. Yeah.
But I suppose you always drive the speed limit.
Yeah.
She said under.
I said under.
Eric, any questions from you?
No, but I didn't have awareness of it, so thank you.
I have a question. When you mentioned leaving here to go to Waconia, is the 4 lanes, does it just go between like maybe 43 and Lake Town Road? On the map, that's kind of what it looked like.
The 4 lanes will be expanded from the 43 intersection on the west side to where the 4 lanes exist today, closer to 212, is the current intent for the project. So the blue line,
212, like where?
yeah, 212
Okay.
is to the east there, right side of the map.
But that's the section of 10, that would be 4 lanes. So it would not be all the way to Waconia.
Not
Would
at
it
this
end on, for what is your plan or budgeted, it would end on this map, what I'm seeing here? Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
It's unrelated to this project, but I'm just trying to figure out detour heartburn. When is the roundabout going in at County Road 11 and Big Woods Boulevard? Is that 28?
That is the programmed year, I believe. I haven't had a lot of involvement with that project, but
Okay.
that sounds correct.
Okay, so it would be, for sake of simplicity, construction on County Road 11 in 2028 in
Yes.
both places?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and for sure, check out the Carver County website. We've got the projects listed and the dates and who to contact on things if you want more details or the same there too.
Thank you. Right.
I have a question, and it is very far outside of our boundaries, but you're looking at potential realignment, and I'm looking out by 43, and is that out by Augusta out there? If you straighten that road out, there's like a triangle. If you want to go back to project overview page, and this is more out of curiosity, I think, there's a lot of potential realignment of a new road. Nope, keep going. There we go. By the hazard, the crash concern area, are you considering that many different, an actual triangle of roads, or are these just like A, B, and C?
Yes, so speaking to the red triangle there, that is the highest amount of crashes that we're seeing.
Sure.
Associated with the alignment of the road, so there's a significant curve with many lane departures that have been recorded over the years.
Okay.
We're evaluating speed limit, design speed intentions in that area, as well as potential realignments to maintain the 55 miles an hour that we're expecting to get. The triangle of roads there is somewhat a very high level, I would say. The yellow line coming down from the north is associated with a City of Victoria-led study on Red Fox Drive extension. So that'd be a north-south connector for that local system. And the lines to the south of the yellow line are what Highway 43 may connect in at. And as well as that the 43 alignment to the west, where it snakes through the fields there. That's a different alignment that we're looking through alternatives on how to have that function.
So you talked about these railroad crossings also. Again, they're a little outside of us, but our traffic comes and goes from there also. Are you, and because they're at grade, are you planning anything to go over any of those, or is it gonna remain?
Yeah, we're evaluating the cost benefit of those at this point in time, so we're really taking a hard look and doing high level detail work at this point to understand what the footprint, the impacts, and the cost of those improvements would be if we were to seek funding for those grade separations.
Okay. Let's see. And then you have for the County Road 11, and I guess we've got 2028 construction. What's the end of that construction? If it starts in 2028?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe we would intend to hold that to a single season, would
Okay.
be the intent on the outset. Yeah, 11 would be one, and then 10 being the longer, larger project, would likely see multiple seasons for that.
Okay, so then, I'm sorry, maybe you said it and I missed it. Would 10 be closed down in its entirety for during that
That'll be
construction?
something we evaluate in the coming months,
Okay.
what the traffic management plan can look like during construction.
Okay. That's a lot of rerouting.
Yeah.
A lot. Okay, thank you.
I thought of another question, looking at this project overview again. A while ago, Great River Energy had given us some information. Where is that even fit on here, where they're talking about that transmission line? Because I feel like it's a little bit top left off the map. Is the road realignment, you guys working with them?
Yeah, we met with them early on. That was one of the risk factors we wanted to take care of early, so that Great River Energy wasn't going to come in and we'd have to ask them to relocate things later as the project comes through. So from what I've understood, they're running not in alignment with our highways. Instead, they've elected to get right-of-way through farm fields south of this project area. And it cuts up north again at the, I believe, 141 intersection. There's a substation there. That's time.
All right, thank you.
It is, 44 and 11 roundabout is scheduled for funding or scheduled for construction in 28. That's, this referenced the email from Lynn and
I
Rob
was gonna say, I
Gent.
know I have it in my email, but I couldn't find it in here. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
All right. Moving on to 6.1, we have a public hearing for the Aon? How are we pronouncing that?
You know, it's up to the speaker. I've heard it both ways.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. My screen is maybe lagging a little bit behind, but we'll get started anyways.
Should we open the public hearing to give you some time?
Sure.
I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
You're making a motion, I said entertain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said.
No, you're fine.
Sorry. I was
Motion by Councilmember Conrad.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Pasco. Any further discussion? Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco?
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad?
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer?
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman?
Aye.
Mayor Johnson?
Aye. Motion passes. The public hearing is open.
Okay, I think we're there now. Thank you for that extra second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have a public hearing for vacation, which makes it sound like it's more fun than it actually is, for the Aon property. So we're at Levi Griffin Road and County Road 11. Formerly, this property was contemplated for United Properties, has since changed to the Aon Business Center. So what we're looking to do tonight is vacate some areas that have previously been platted. So what this process does is it wipes clean essentially the entire project area. So there's an application that you'll be reviewing tonight for a final plat for the project, which will reestablish easements that are required for that project. But first, we need to vacate the existing easements that exist on the property to be able to plat for the project that you're contemplating later tonight. Notice was posted in the Waconia Patriot twice and mailed to surrounding property owners. We did not hear feedback on the vacation request.
All right. Any questions, comments? Or you know what? Are there any public comments before we get to that? Okay. If there are not any public comments, we can close the public hearing. So I would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion
make a
to close
motion
the
to
public hearing.
close.
Oh, what did Eric say?
Sorry, Eric, what's that?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think I heard Christie make a motion. Still waiting
I'll
for a second.
second.
Thank you. Motion by Conrad, second by Pershman. Any further discussion? All right, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, and now, any questions or comments from city council?
None for me.
None from me.
Eric, go ahead.
No comment.
Okay. Aaron, the only question that I have is, I know that we're vacating the easement for a potential trail on that side. Does that get put back in?
It does, yes.
Okay, fantastic. And I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 122-26, conditionally vacating certain public easements to facilitate the plat of the Aeon Business Park.
It's not an easy one. We got a motion from Councilmember Pasco.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Conrad. Any further discussion? All right, can we get another roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Great, thank you. Moving on to the next business item, 8.1 is the Enclave Preliminary Plat and Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Ms. Smith, we're gonna be talking a lot for the rest of the meeting, aren't we?
I know. Thank you, Mayor and Council. There are several applications included in your packet for D.R. Horton, the Enclave at Carver Creek. So first, we'll start with the comprehensive plan amendment, and then we'll move through rezoning and preliminary plat in a more typical fashion that you see fairly often. So for some context of where we're located, the project area is dashed in yellow here, so you can see it's west of our current development. So moving north to south, connecting neighborhoods are the Preserve and Timber Creek. So generally on the west side of County Road 11, moving towards our future growth area. The property was recently annexed into city limits, so this entire area is in city limits now. And then you can see on the lower right is a snapshot of the comprehensive plan. So some of those details that we'll start talking through what those colors mean today, what we're looking for them to mean in the future as well. So what I'm calling are some fast facts. The project is proposed by D.R. Horton, who is in the room tonight, so we'll invite them up for discussion and conversation throughout the process. D.R. Horton previously has built Meridian Fields and Hawthorne Ridge in town. The property is 255 acres in total, so it's split across 3 PIDs, 250 acres total. Current proposal is for 508 homes, 403 detached, 105 townhomes, and the home sizes range from about 1,500 square feet to just over 3,000. Something that's interesting and unique in this project is that they're proposing nearly 6 miles of public trails and sidewalks, so we'll talk through that with some changes to the park that we've seen. Something that is always helpful is that tree cover. So obviously new trees come in with every subdivision, but you lose some of that old growth, some of the characters that make neighborhoods feel a little bit more established. But on this site specifically, only 3 acres of trees will be removed. So a significant portion of the project will maintain that mature tree cover. A large community scale park is contemplated, and this project has been through several processes with the Planning Commission and City Council to date. So you've seen it through a concept plan. We did like a silly concept plan 2.0 with this project, which D.R. Horton graciously gave us some additional drawings for. The environmental review, the EAW environmental assessment worksheet was required due to its size, annexation, and then the Planning Commission reviewed these same applications at their April meeting. So beginning the discussion at the comprehensive plan amendment, you can see on the left is the illustrative drawing that D.R. Horton has provided. It gives you a good feel of the neighborhood, and you start to see what some of those densities look like in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. So what is the comprehensive plan? Why are we moving through this process? It's a project and process required by the Met Council. So anyone in the 7-county metro area is required to do that, and we all are required to typically have the same sections and information in our plans. It gets updated every 10 years. So our current plan was adopted in 2018, looks out to 2040. We are doing some kickoff work for our next comprehensive plan now. It will be adopted in 2028, and we'll be looking out until 2050. A really important thing that the Planning Commission and City Council uses in your review and approvals is the land use plan and the land use map. So the things that we see in our hazy crystal ball of what we think might happen in some of these growth areas falls into the land use chapter and the land use map. So it sets the uses and residential densities through that process. And then something to think about through this process and through our growth area is there's a program called, we refer to it as Ag Preserve. So it's a credit where farmers can commit to farming the property that they have adjacent to city limits, and it decreases the property taxes for them. So they have to continue using it for a set number of years as a farm use to be able to use that benefit, but they are formally enrolled in a program called Ag Preserve. So it's a program that is used typically on urban edges, so we start to see it more and more as we start to move west from our current city limits. What that means for our comp plan, though, is that areas that are in that Ag Preserve program have to be designated as ag uses on our land use map, which is challenging for a variety of reasons. I think it can be, if someone is trying to do some homework and figure out where we're expected to grow and what it might look like, seeing that agricultural designation on the map, I think, is misleading. So someone could think like, oh, it's a farm in my backyard. It has this agricultural designation. It will always be a farm, where we in this room know differently, just based on the long-term planning that we do. So our plan is unique. We have 2 land use maps that are referenced throughout the land use section of the comprehensive plan. So on the left, the taupey brown color is that agriculture designation. And then on the right, you can see the land use map that we use for long-term planning. So when we think about utilities, 10-year capital plans, we use the map on the right to think about where utilities will be, what population might look like. So the first request is for the first 2 PIDs that are directly adjacent to city limits. So it's going from that taupey color to the true color on the right map. So no change in how we've thought about this property, how we've designated it in conversation, how we've planned for it. The third property is the Hammers property. It's adjacent to 212, where those 105 townhomes are proposed. And we're looking for re-guidance on that property from high density to medium density. So I'll talk through those densities, I think, on the next slide. So you can see the 2 lighter yellow go from that ag to low density residential. That's what we've anticipated for a long time. And the high density is a request to go to the medium density. So on the screen now, you can also see the density requirements for each district. So the area in the light yellow under our current plan is 3 to 5 units per acre. Medium density is 5 to 12, and then that high density is 12 to 36. So the 12 to 36 would typically be an apartment of some type. So a little bit challenging with this site and not a product that D.R. Horton currently offers. So as they move through development of the site, they've proposed townhomes, which hits that medium density. Medium density in general is less stressful to our system, so it's less folks at a lower density, so it's less traffic counts, less people in the spaces. So generally, the planning is consistent with our comprehensive plan. There's also some density requirements across the entire city. I checked in with the Met Council to make sure that re-guiding this property from high to medium doesn't essentially mess with our equilibrium across the rest of the city. With the introduction of Carver Place and Carver Oaks, we got a nice little boost to our overall density for the entire city. So we are able to re-guide this property from high to medium without requiring high density somewhere else in the community, because our densities are pushing a little bit closer to that medium and high right now with the introduction of those 2 projects. So a comp plan amendment is a long process. There's a 60-day review process by affected jurisdictions. So that's the group on the right. So we send notice to those groups. We give them the information. We say you have 60 days to come back with anything. We receive comments from Carver County, which are included in the packet, but generally those are not actionable items. We're looking for City Council review tonight. After that, I can forward to the Met Council for their review, and they have an additional 30 days. So if everything goes well, this project, the comp plan amendment, could be fully in effect early June, depending on the Met Council, any feedback that they have. A public hearing is required, so notice was set to property owners within 350 feet of the project area. The Planning Commission held that at their April 16th meeting, and no comments were received specific to the comprehensive plan amendment. So again, the requests are to go for the first 2 PIDs from that ag designation, which is required for the Ag Preserve program, to low density residential, and then moving the Hammers piece or the piece adjacent to Highway 212 from high density to medium density. I'll open it up for questions and discussion.
Questions? Eric, anything from you?
No, Aaron already addressed my question, which was have we socialized the density changes with Met Council, and sounds like we have.
Aaron, I'm just looking at where the trail system goes, and I can't, so when we're looking at the, page would be looking at here, we're looking at the 508 total lots. And
Is this related to the comp plan amendment, or do you think
I think
prelim
I might
plat and
have opened the wrong,
rezoning?
I'm ahead of myself.
Okay,
on this.
I'll go
We'll
through
wait
some,
for
that
Thanks.
information in a minute, but it felt easier to digest this if we broke it up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, so questions, keeping it to the comp plan amendment for
Correct.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Or a motion.
I would make a motion to adopt Resolution 124-26, authorizing submitting comprehensive plan amendment to the Met Council.
Motion by Pasco,
I'll second.
second by Sarah. Any further discussion? Can you roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco?
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad?
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer?
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman?
Aye.
Mayor Johnson?
Aye. Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 03-20.
Hang on, pause.
Oh, the roll call? Oh, wait.
No, I'm gonna do a whole nother presentation.
What is happening tonight? We are like all over the place tonight. I'm really excited.
I'm
Thanks,
glad.
Erin.
I'm so
I just
glad.
want to approve it all.
Doesn't bode well for your project, you guys. It's not looking good.
Right.
Good Lord.
DR is about to run out of this room.
I'm about to run out of this room.
Okay, are we ready for part 2 of the presentation?
We're so
Okay.
ready.
2 and 3.
Okay, this I will say is probably the more fun part of the application, so it's the rezoning and preliminary plat. So we'll talk a little bit about the trail system and park system throughout. So the plating applications, again, preliminary plat and rezoning are being reviewed by the city council tonight. The rezoning request is to go to R2 with a PRD, or a planned residential development overlay. The need for that PRD is a mix of housing type with the townhome and the single family. So townhome is not a permitted use typically in our R2 district. The PRD designation would allow for that townhome mix to come in with the project. And then a reduction in lot size minimum. So looking to bring our lot size of R2 to 7,500 down lower to allow for those townhome units to develop on smaller lot sizes. Something to note that the city council talks about quite a bit is that there's not a request for a reduction in side yard setback. So that's something we see fairly often with that PRD request. So just highlighting that that is not contemplated as part of this request tonight. And then information has been grabbed from the preliminary plat, so showing some information, what the setbacks will look like. So they're really typical for that R2 district. The big change is a reduction in that lot size to allow for a variety of single-family detached homes, the townhomes to have smaller lots, and then the mix of two to coexist together. So on the screen now is the concept plan that we saw in a couple versions before the council. So just wanted to give you the starting point of where we started, and then some changes that have been made by D.R. Horton to better establish some park features, trail features that we were looking for, and then also feedback by the Planning Commission and City Council. On the screen now is the preliminary plat. So again, you can see that development information gets formalized in this document. So you can see on the right side, it's the legal description, and then you run through the lot sizes, the setbacks, the densities, etc. And then the illustrative graphic that was provided by D.R. Horton. I'm going to break it into a couple so we can start looking at it. So this is obviously the north side of the project. The north portion is Highway 212. Moving south towards Dahlgren Road is the next road on the furthest south portion. So you can see that there's a wide mix of housing types that DR is proposing. The different colors show different housing types that are offered, different products. So the yellow obviously is some of that smaller lot development, as well as the orange. The green becomes more of their executive lots, and then pink are the townhome units. Something to note is that this is the extension of Monroe Drive, so our big collector system moving on the north side of town near 212, so getting Monroe all the way over to the westerly property line of the Hammers property will be part of this process. And then you start to see some of those trails that are built into this project, both connecting to some features as well as offering just neighborhood connectivity. And then there are a lot of ponds in this project, so it'll give nice features for residents that are adjacent to them. The southern portion has some significant changes. So green is their more executive lot, and this is where we start to see some large changes to that park system. So some feedback from the city council is that the park felt really private since the cul-de-sac went fully around the bulb. It felt hidden, like it was maybe a secret. And then there were concerns about parking in that cul-de-sac. So if someone wanted to bring a group of friends to play whatever the end use is in this park, that folks on that cul-de-sac could really easily get frustrated if they constantly were having park traffic parked in their cul-de-sac. So some pretty significant changes to this area specifically related to park development. And then some other things to note that we've worked through. The EAW, the Environmental Assessment Worksheet, called out a concern for the noise levels on Highway 212 for those townhome units. D.R. Horton is mitigating that with a series of, I'll talk through some of the mitigation steps that they're taking. And then just wanted to note the several accesses into the project. So the north side is from the preserve, it's Old Oak Road, Monroe Drive, and then 2 from Timber Creek. So 4 full accesses into the project moving west, which I think will be important for the additional 508 units that are coming in, that it's not all feeding to one local street that could cause traffic to pile up. So on the screen now is a cross-section of the townhomes. So you can see on the bottom, you would be looking at the townhome units. And then D.R. Horton is proposing a berm, landscaping, and a fence to mitigate sound. A lot of sound concern is typically also seen as a visual issue. So if you see the cars, you're more likely to hear the cars. You have just the coordination of your brain thinking about those two things together. So the 3 partner together. They also are doing some enhanced building materials. So windows that we saw in Meridian Fields will be used here too to reduce sound in those townhomes. And then on the cross section, there's my mouse. So this is the townhome. This would be the berm, and then 212 sits here. So you can see 212 is significantly lower than the berm and the townhomes. So at the roof level of where the topmost windows are, you're not likely to see 212 with the mitigation that's proposed between the berming, the landscaping, and the fencing. So something to note that was helpful through the EAW process to identify the need for some type of mitigation for sound in these lots in the townhome area.
Can you move your cursor again to where the 212 elevation is?
Yeah. Here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then an idea what that berming looks like, so a really generous landscape plan in this area. There is an HOA proposed for the development, so the HOA would be responsible for this area of landscape and common space in the HOA space. We've been talking a lot about the park in this space with the Planning Commission and at the City Council level. We have a workshop with the Planning Commission and City Council coming up in early June, and one of the topics is going to be programming for a couple parks, the Enclave being one of them. We won't make a decision that night of what it looks like specifically, but we'll start to hear what folks are thinking about, what uses might be desirable, both from the Planning Commission, City Council, what folks are hearing. But something to note is that really extensive park and trail system. So it's moving in from Timber Creek, the rustic trail that was put in with Timber Creek 4th, continuing through the bluff area. This trail will likely be pretty rustic, similar to Hawthorne Ridge, so likely not accessible if you're on rollerblades or just for some users that might be looking for a flat surface. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow to go out there and start placing where that trail could shake out depending on what conditions look like, hoping to avoid old growth trees. Is it Thursday? I thought it was tomorrow. We'll have to look.
Surprise.
Yeah. And then a secondary star is on the map, so that trail section is really lovely and beautiful and showcases some great view shed. So we are toying with the idea of what that would look like for a park feature, whether it be public art that draws people to use that trail system, pollinator habitat, something to get folks to continue walking on that path, offer a different park use that's outside of a playground that could hit a different demographic for folks that are looking to use our system. On the screen now are some examples of what the D.R. Horton product would look like. So thinking about the different housing types in different spaces. Like I mentioned previously, the Planning Commission did review at their April meeting. There was a public hearing required for both. The Planning Commission held that public hearing. There was a concern from a neighboring property owner about trespassing. D.R. Horton really quickly met with that property owner in their continuing dialogue to figure out a solution that would work for both groups. So that comment was brought up at the public hearing. Otherwise, I don't think anyone else spoke. I think it was just one person at that public hearing. So again, the preliminary plat is on the screen now. The City Council is reviewing the rezoning. from agriculture, which is the designation when any project is annexed into city limits, to R2 with that PRD overlay, allowing for a mix of housing type and reduction in lot size, and then the preliminary plat. I'm going to invite D.R. Horton to join us at the table, and we can have a discussion.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Deb Ridgway with D.R. Horton. With me tonight is Mike Sewell, also with D.R. Horton. We're happy to be back.
Yeah, it's been a second since
Yeah,
we've seen you.
yeah. But we're here to answer any questions that you may have. To add what Aaron was saying about the mitigation from 212, the noise mitigation, we're also going to be putting STC-rated windows to help bring down that sound inside the units as well. So,
For all the townhomes or just the ones closest?
I believe.
All the townhomes,
Yeah,
it's
it'll be,
just
yeah,
similar to-
yeah.
Okay.
to-
Okay, and then anything for the yellow homes that are closer to 212?
So with that, we'd probably do something similar we did at Meridian Fields, which was a radius of, so far from 212, those homes got the higher rated windows.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Caleb?
No, the only thing I was gonna bring up was just with the Peterson property, if you guys had reached out. 'Cause
Yep.
I'm the liaison for the planning commission, so I was at that
Yes.
meeting and she was very concerned.
Yes,
so-
and we met with her like a week and a half ago now, and I think that we've come to an agreement and, yeah, about potentially doing a fence out there. So we'll, like Aaron said, we're gonna continue dialogue as we move through the process and get, once we get to that area of development, reach back out with them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Just to reiterate, so the only HOA area is going to be, I'm gonna go by colors here, so the pinkish purple, where the townhomes are over there, is that the only area of HOA?
No. So we were planning on doing a master association for the entire community. We do plan on having neighborhood monument signs as you come into the neighborhood off of Monroe. And then, so with the master, you would have two subs essentially, the sub-association for the townhomes and then one for all of the single-family homes.
Okay, and so, I'm not a huge fan of HOAs. I think they can serve a purpose, but they can also
Yep.
cause more
Yep.
problems than they're worth, or they end up going defunct after a while
Yep.
anyways. Is the only reason we're having an HOA over the entire area is because of those monument signs?
We also thought that we'd probably do some landscape maintenance along Monroe because we do have a heavier tree planting along Monroe. And so we thought that would be included as a responsibility of the HOA as well. And we are in the same boat. We don't like to have HOAs if we don't have to, but this is a large neighborhood and it's a pretty good neighborhood for us where we want to keep things looking nice. And with the monuments are usually a big deal with the homeowners in the neighborhood and just making sure
Sure.
that those are maintained.
Right, I mean, to me, a monument is neither here nor there. I could care less if
Right,
there's a monument
right,
that's,
right.
you're in Carver, you're in
Yeah.
Carver. Aaron, for Monroe Drive, so if there was no HOA, who would be maintaining that area?
So we would typically extend property lines up to that right of way and then ask that the trees be pulled into the private property.
Okay,
And we've done that in other developments in other cities, but it's the backside of people's homes, so maybe it doesn't get as high a quality of maintenance as we think it should have, because it's going to be our main front door into our neighborhood. So we want it to be enhanced and be attractive, and starting today all the way through the life of this neighborhood, which is hopefully a long, long time. So we find experience-wise that if it's side yards or backyards, and then there's going to be areas where there's ponds, is the city going to maintain the pond areas as well as the neighbors do? So I think it's just easier if it's all in the HOA to help maintain. And then we're also trying to have a discussion
Are we just gonna have a trail on one side, or we're gonna have a trail and sidewalk on Monroe? We kind of lean towards having a trail and a sidewalk on each side, or a trail on one side and a sidewalk on the other. But that gets into some maintenance issues that the city has to deal with, so maybe the HOA could take one of the trails or sidewalks and handle the snow so it could be open. I just think as Monroe is growing, we need pedestrian access on both ways. We understand it's not to the east, so we have to figure that out, and we have a lot of conversation with staff, and maybe they'll convince us to just have one side pedestrian trail, but we think we should have two, and if one of the ways to solve it is to have the HOA maintain part of it.
Right, because the trail would become a property of the city of Carver, but a sidewalk that would be property of the homeowner. I think it would be nice to have it on both sides also,
Yeah.
I think, because that is gonna be a lot of traffic and it's a great road. But when, you know, when I think about like Midtown Carver, right? I forget, was it Orton Thompson? Was that the name of the development up here? So, I mean, I get what you're saying about, because those backyards come down to Fourth Street.
Yep.
But there's not a trail on that, the
No.
northish side. Is there a sidewalk all the way on that southish side?
There is, but
Yeah.
since it's a sidewalk, it's the property owner's responsibility. So as we all know, being in Carver in the winter, that's a little hit or miss on that stretch for those folks that have that sidewalk in their backyard.
Okay.
What Erin really means is it's a lot miss.
Okay, so, all right. Again, this is a really large development to have a lot of homes in an HOA. I just see some issues with it. You know, we have an HOA in the Bluffs right now, and we can't even look to do things because we can't even get everybody to get on a signature or to get things going because the association is so huge. So that worries me. I'm not gonna lie, that HOA up here is troublesome to me. Another question I see there's some ghost plats that are on the cul-de-sac in the green area on the left. Are those, or ghost homes, what's the plan with that?
So we've been thinking about the property west of this project a lot, thinking about connectivity. Is it important to have a street that is stubbed there? There is a significant ravine system that exists on the east side of this property that likely will never develop when it comes into the city. Our bluff ordinance will take effect. Getting a street through that space is not likely. So we are thinking through at D.R. Horton what it would look like if a portion of that project or that property could develop on this side of it. The next property is pretty large. There's some property on the far west side that could develop, but there's a ravine that's likely going to cut off the remainder of the property. So we wanted to propose the option, at least when those folks do choose to sell or develop, that there could be some lots that are added in on this side as well.
Okay, but then that would have to be a marriage between because D.R. Horton will retain ownership of those lots?
Of the portion of lots that are on.
Correct.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
half lots there?
Yes.
Okay, so then that would be something that you work out with the
Yes.
next homeowner, it's not city concern.
No, but we also want to be mindful that we have utility stubs there. So where homes could fit, we want to have capacity to allow that to happen.
Okay. My next question is talking about the cul-de-sacs. So I think we've learned a lesson from a development that went in about 20 years ago with Lorraine Court. And there's some issues with parking, on-street parking up there. A few of the things that, maybe could have been done better up on that area is that the driveways were not spaced far enough apart to have a full parking, like a full car's length vehicle, right? So you've got like 2/3, 2/3, 2/3. So they have a lot of trouble parking there because in between driveways, you can't just fit one full length of a vehicle. And then they had a trail connection that came in, so that cuts off another one, another space. And then they had a cluster mailbox that's also in their parking there. So there's been a lot of issues with parking on that cul-de-sac, so I just want to be really cognizant that we don't make the same mistake again and cause those kind of issues. So I'm not sure how driveways will lay out here, but can we please keep that in mind?
Yes, and we've also been thinking about snow storage too, so how we can most effectively clear a cul-de-sac where it can be stored in there too, so it's part of our staff review.
Okay. Let's see. The other one I have is when I'm looking at where like the brown trail is coming up through the green, and then we are heading up through the orange, and then it looks like once we get into yellow, it's gone. So there's no trail system up in the yellow area.
So there would be sidewalk throughout that area. It wouldn't be dedicated trail. And I can go to the zoomed in.
Okay, because the trail does come up through the orange area, right? That is the right color, that brown kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, it's just a little hard to see with the brown and the green.
Here, my cursor is a strange shape. The trail system is here.
I'm looking more go to the right, Erin. Back to the left. There, this north and south,
This
right
one?
here. Yeah, so you can see on the right-hand side there, it looks like there's brown for the trail.
Yep.
And then it stops once you get into the yellow above that. Into the neighborhood, okay. So it'll just be sidewalk in there then?
Correct.
Okay. My other question about that trail system, so we have the park down in the left-hand corner. To that upper right-hand corner, or that upper left-hand corner of the yellow and the pink, how far is that to get to a park? Because that seems a long ways. Yeah, besides going to this far, but I mean, there's a lot to go around, because there's a lot of really like wonderful, basins and wetlands and things to go around, but it just seems if you are living in one of those corners, getting to the, I don't even know what it is, but we'll just say playground for now. To get to a playground or a recreational area is a bit of a ways. And I'm not sure, Erin, what to the right on the yellow, is there a place space?
No, the closest here is Ironwood and Olson
Okay.
on the
that's-
west side of JCP.
Okay,
It's approximately a half mile.
okay. Okay. Erin, what do you think, what do you have to say about that?
Is that a half mile as the crow flies, or is that a half mile following the trail that you would have to take to get there?
Probably as a trail or as a walking path.
Okay. Because those could be two very different
Yeah.
numbers.
You're running through the marshland with your stroller.
So my feedback would be for a community park of this scale, I think it works, especially with the amount of trail that we are offering. We're not asking folks to move from sidewalk to trail. It's going to be a really robust system. Also, as someone with two really young kids, sometimes that half-mile walk adds the 20 minutes you need to really pass an afternoon. So I would say there's parking available, so if someone's not comfortable taking the trail system there is another option. But I would say with our move to more community scale parks and the fact that there isn't one on this section, so we have Meridian Fields, the Preserve, Timber Creek, and now the Enclave without a true community park on the west side of JCP, I think that it's appropriate to get a large-scale park for all of those users.
Yep.
I think adding pocket parks throughout could overwhelm some of the spaces, especially with the amount of kids that are likely there. So if we didn't have as robust of a trail system, or if we were asking kids to cross several collector-level streets, I think I would feel differently. But we've worked really closely and hard on this trail system to make it accessible to folks throughout the development. We're also working on an enhanced pedestrian crossing, so folks that are in that townhome can get on the other side of Monroe in a safe fashion that is not just a crosswalk with an uncontrolled intersection. So more to come on that as well. But the combination of the controlled pedestrian access across Monroe and the trail system, I think is appropriate.
Okay, thank you, that helps a lot. My other comment I wanted to make was on some of the housing styles, and I love it. I love it. There are some smaller homes, right? Less square feet, 2 or 3 stall garages. I think we don't have something currently that's come in that looks like this, and thank you. This is amazing. I'm happy to see something that can fit different lifestyles than 6-bedroom homes, and you know what I mean? So I really appreciate that there's some diversity in the housing stock here. a lot. So I'm very, very happy to see this. With that, I'm only gonna reiterate then, let's really pay attention to what happens in those courts when it comes to parking and things like that, and that I am not a big fan of this HOA, so I'll leave it there. Thank you. Yep.
Lori?
No questions, but I do like the variety that it would be bringing us.
Eric?
Christy, when you were talking about ghost homes, were you talking about the 5 future lots on the west side?
Yes.
Okay, then I think we've already talked about that. That's dependent on a land acquisition. Then I don't have any more questions. I really like the redesign of that Southwest Park area from when we first saw it. So that looks far more accessible. But no other comments that haven't already been addressed.
All right, I have a little bit of a laundry list. I agree with you. I love the variety of homes. Are there, and maybe you had it in the packet, but are there any that are universal design, no steps, slab on grade, accessible?
So, the yellow homes are actually slab on grade, no basements, but they are
Okay.
2-story homes.
Okay.
In our, the orange style homes, which are the ones that we built in Meridian Fields, that has a slab on grade, single level home plan in that series. And then the green homes, which is what we built in Hawthorne Ridge, those also have a single story home but with a basement.
Okay, okay, thank you. Let's see, I don't have any issues with an HOA. Folks will be building these homes, they'll know what they're getting into.
Right.
Every homeowner beyond that will know in perpetuity that they are buying into an HOA. When I bought a property in an HOA, you actually have a few days to read the documents and you can rescind your offer. Is that still a state law?
It is for townhomes, yes.
Okay, so you can rescind your offer if you see something in the
Yep.
condo docs that you don't like. I'm still not sure if people read the condo docs, however, there they are. Can you tell me the approximate, and I know you've got many different styles, but price point for these homes?
Yep, so the townhomes will be the lowest price homes, which will be around 400,000, so.
Okay.
I mean, it's still a significant investment.
Yep.
The yellow homes are the next step up, which are probably a little over 4 is what we're anticipating. The orange or the blue homes, those.
The orange and blue are about the same price.
The yellow and blue. The yellow and blue about the same, aren't they?
Correct.
Okay. And then the orange are probably gonna be around 500.
Okay.
The low to mid 5s, and then the green are the biggest homes, and those will be pushing over 600,000.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted the driveway to the park, is there topography that we're dealing with there, and that's
Yes.
why it makes it a longer driveway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
Which will make maybe for a great sledding hill, but it is really steep right there.
Thank you. Okay, my one thought, depending on how we program that park, is if it's, if there's a soccer field in there or something that's a team sport that brings 2 teams and family members and grandparents, I'm already envisioning folks parking along that driveway. So I just think we need to be careful when we're planning that and programming and kind of anticipating that sports families have some of the most creative parking I've ever seen. So just kind of planning for that, because I know that there have been different areas in town, around Community Park, around Bluff Park, that we've experienced that. So just kind of keeping that in mind. Also in the park, I love the idea for native seed. I know that literally mowing lawns in parks during the summer is a full-time job, so I love having that variety in areas that don't have to be mowed. Programming of park, that's something that the city will do?
We'll have a discussion with D.R. Horton. I'll say it'll be a partnership in that decision-making.
Okay. You have heard this from me before, but I'm disappointed that we weren't able to, squeeze is the wrong word, but find a place for some larger lots in such a large development. I'm not gonna beat that horse to death, but I wanted to go on record. You guys know how I feel about that.
And just add one thing, them 5
Yeah.
lots on the end of them cul-de-sacs could be really some spectacular home sites. So
Okay.
maybe down the road, we haven't given up that hope yet.
I'll keep you to that. I'll hold you to that. Okay. Erin, you went and you kind of highlighted all the areas where is the access from the east side, and then it funnels down right now in this development, which will be a dead end, to one access point to the west. Will that potentially kind of spider web out eventually someday and not funnel down? I imagine that we'll have more, if when built out, more access on the west side.
I will say the property that is west is very bluffy and there's a large ravine system. So
Okay.
even when that comes into city limits, I do not think that's developable space that would allow for a road to be constructed there.
So you think that Monroe Drive will end there?
Oh, sorry, Monroe will continue.
Okay.
Anything south of that. Monroe
okay.
goes all the way through.
Okay.
But the property that's, like you can see at the end of the green, it's 2 cul-de-sacs, then the blue loops as well.
Yep.
There is an additional access south
Yep.
that would allow traffic to continue west.
Yeah, so I'm not saying from there, but I'm saying like, this is crystal ball stuff, like the property that we're not talking about, that's to the west of it, that we're now talking about.
Sure,
Is that flat? Does that allow to spider web out?
yes. From,
Like the inverse of this potentially?
go ahead.
I'll just supplement, Mayor. So as part of this preliminary plat process, we've essentially looked at the future Monroe extension all the way out to County Road 43, which will be the sole main collector road
Yep.
servicing this area. That said, there will be additional interior local roadways.
Okay.
But as far as like the east-west connector, Monroe Drive will be that road.
Okay, but I guess maybe rephrasing my question, the bluff is just or the ravine and bluff is just this area that you can see on this.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep,
and then it is more buildable on the
Yes.
west side in an area that we're not even talking about. today.
correct.
Okay,
And there's a pocket, like at 212 and 43, there's some flat space. So there could be additional accesses from 43 too. So Monroe
Okay.
might not be the only street that connects to 43. Just thinking about how we plan for that additional space.
okay. My next question are the only private streets that I'm looking at here in the townhome area, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then I think the last one might have already been, Aaron, I think you addressed it, but pedestrian access across Monroe, especially for this part. There's gonna be something,
Yes, location to be determined still, but we're working through that.
okay. And you said enhanced pedestrian crossing, is that like an RRFB? What do we call it?
Potentially the rapid RRFB,
Flash.
rapid response flashing beacon. Is that right?
Oh, we still
Close
did.
enough. Rectangular, yeah, whatever. We're looking at it.
The buttons and the lights. Okay.
You stumped the engineer tonight.
It must be getting late. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering all my questions. With that, if you want to make the motion that you wanted to make earlier.
Gosh, do you want me to rezone something now?
Well, that's where we're at.
Okay, are we sure? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 03-2026, rezoning property for the enclave at Carver Creek.
Got a motion by Councilmember Conrad,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Pershman. Any further discussion? All right, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. One more to go.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 125-26, approving preliminary plat for the enclave at Carver Creek.
Motion by Councilmember Conrad.
I'll second.
I'm gonna give that one to Lori. Second by Lori. Any further discussion? Can we get another roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. All right.
Thank you
you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 8.2, the Aon Business Park. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The final application that I have before you is a final plat application for the Aon Business Park, which is proposed by Brink Construction. So there have been some big changes since last time you saw this property. We originally were talking through this project with United Properties, and then we took a little bit of a breather. We were working through some drainage issues, working with United Properties on some signal design stuff. And in that time, United Properties was approached to sell to Brink Construction. They're a company out of Prior Lake with industrial projects across the South Metro. Most recently have built a very similar product in Chanhassen near Paisley Park off Highway 5. So if you want to see what the building will look like, that's a good one to check out. So United Properties was planning to build the buildings and then lease the space to the end users. That story has since changed, where Brink will lease the entire first building to a known end user, and the second building will be phase 2 with the end user to be determined. But phase 1 will be that first south building with an end user known. So instead of looking for leased spaces, the end user will move into that space. The zoning is consistent with what we reviewed for the United Properties project. And then we checked in with the Environmental Quality Board to make sure the environmental assessment worksheet was still applicable, knowing that the EAW looks at some project-specific details, and the uses were consistent enough that we did not need to go back and revise the EAW. So again, very similar with our industrial zoning district, very similar to what we approved at preliminary plat with the United Properties potential project. So we've seen this project and we've talked about this project for a really long time. So we saw the concept plan August of 2024. We moved through annexation, the EAW, the TIF application, and then preliminary plat. The Planning Commission reviewed the same application at their April 16th, 2026 meeting, so just a couple weeks ago, and they recommended approval on a 5-0 vote to the City Council. Some context and some project details. We're at the corner of Levi Griffin Road and County Road 11, or Jonathan Carver Parkway. It's circled on our land use map, so you can see it's purple, which is a commercial industrial mix, so this project is consistent with the city's adopted comprehensive plan. The address was formerly 12280 Jonathan Carver Parkway, so adjacent to Lakeview Industries near Fleet Farm. This was the concept plan that we saw for United Properties. It was 2 mirrored buildings at I think 189,000 square feet each. So some changes that have happened since this project has come to fruition, which I'll highlight in an upcoming slide. On the screen now is the final plat. Nope, this is the preliminary plat that you reviewed several months ago. So looking at it generally, when you see the final plat, you're going to see some small changes, but nothing major enough that we needed to go back and revise the preliminary plat. So there's final plat is on the screen now. So a couple of changes to highlight. The United Properties project, when approved at preliminary plat, contemplated a slip right into the site on the south side of the project. So you can see that on the plat here. My cursor is so strange up there, but it's there. With the Aon project, they have eliminated that slip right, so the only access will be at the major intersection of Levi Griffin Road and Commerce Drive. And then a shift in the building sizes. The overall square footage stays the same, but Project A, the first building on the south side, gets significantly larger. I think it's 257,400 square feet. So between the two buildings, we're hitting the same square footage, just that the first phase, building 1, is significantly larger, which then will lead to phase 2 being a smaller building. So something to note, it stays consistent across the projects. Like Mayor Johnson mentioned, we were thinking about the trail, so when we vacated those easements, making sure that the trail stayed consistent with this project. It does, it comes in on the plans. So we worked on this trail a lot because along Jonathan Carver Parkway or County Road 11, it's a ditch system, so we're not able to put a trail typically where we would because it's a working ditch system. Water goes into that space, flows down the county road. So we've pulled the trail closer to the building. So the trail will exist when the project opens, and then we'll continue to propagate the trail north. So it'll just be a little bit closer to the building than what's typical, but not knowing the timeline of when this section of Jonathan Carver Parkway might improve, it felt really important to get that trail in day 1 so folks can anticipate that it will continue both on this site and north. We've had a lot of discussion about landscaping and tree removal, which I think I'll talk about on the next slide. And then the third thing to note is the signal installation at Levi Griffin and Commerce Drive. So circled on the screen is where the full intersection, the signalized intersection, will go. So it'll be a traffic change for folks that go to Fleet Farm or Lakeview, but we're hopeful that the construction of the signal will be consistent with that phase 1 project. So when folks come to Carver day 1 of their job, they know what to expect with that signalized system. So it'll be installed for Lakeview Industries, Fleet Farm, the end user here, and then phase 2, along with projects that we're working on in the surrounding project area. Part of the pause and why we took a beat after the preliminary plat was that at the public hearing, there was long discussion about soil contamination and some drainage issues that were identified. So at the end of the day, we learned through some work that Braun Intertech did was that the site was contaminated. That was what the report said, and that was true. It's unfortunate that that happened, that there was some leaking, I think, fuel and oil tanks that were on site. But the piece of development that is great for that is that the site has been cleaned up. So any soil contamination has been completely mitigated and removed from that site. So when it was in the township, there was likely some leakage that happened from some tanks, which led to contaminated soils. Bringing the project in for development, the site cleanup was required. So that happened. What we know now from the Braun reports is that the margins came back clean and that the soil contamination there has been eliminated. And then the secondary piece that you all know fairly well at this point is some drainage concerns that the property owner had south. So on the other side of Levi Griffin Road, we've worked with that property owner to develop some solutions that will likely help make sure that development water does not adversely impact the property that is south. So it's been a journey. We've had a lot of conversations with MnDOT, thinking through what that project looks like long-term, but we've come up with some solutions that work for the Mesenbring piece, adjacent property owners, and the city as well.
Erin, I have a question.
Mhm.
For the soil contamination that's been resolved, who paid for that? Or who, in a situation like this?
The developer, so I believe it was the property owner that was selling the property, and then the developer split the cost of that. The city was not involved in the payment of that.
Quick question, when it was a United Property Development, wasn't that going to be 2 different phases of development? Is this the same? Will they do building 1 and then a future building 2? Are they going to happen at the same time?
So right now, building 1 is contemplated with a future phase 2. So very similar to what was contemplated with United Properties.
Okay,
Do we have
thanks.
any idea on the timing of phase 2?
No, but working with the Mesenbring team, I would say it's going to be soon.
Okay.
So in a couple slides, I'll invite Jennifer up too.
Okay.
And she can tell us the real way to say it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
There's too many vowels. You
I
need
know.
to take one of these
Make
vowels
something
out.
up.
So something significant that we had to get a little bit creative with on the site was tree replacement. So there are significant trees on this site that need to be removed for construction of 2 industrial buildings. But it got a little bit sticky when we started to think about what tree replacement looked like on this site, since it has some pretty limited space with some ponding that happens on the north side, with some basins that are required, et cetera. I also think that it would be futile to have a really heavily landscaped industrial site where people are going there for industry to work a job. I don't anticipate a robust grounds crew that would come out and take care of hundreds of trees on an industrial site. So we worked through some calculations with the Mesenbring team, and through the tree replacement and removal, there will be a fund established that will allow the city to use $36,000. It's on here, it's just really, really small, so I can't read it. But $36,000+ on tree or landscape projects throughout the community. So those dollars have to be used for that use only. But when we start thinking through, Community Park is one that we've identified where Emerald Ash Borer has started to take several of those trees down. We can use those funds for removal and replacement of those trees, where without this project, we wouldn't have that fund established to have some money to put towards that other tree project in the city as applicable for the landscape plan for this project specifically. So something a little bit unique, but the Mesenbring team was great to work with through that process, working through what a calculation looked like, and then how we could use those funds moving forward. So the proposed landscape plan that they will be moving forward with now is on the screen. Oh, it's so much bigger here. $36,640 is the total amount. But you can see that there's significant planting still throughout the site, but you can see where those basins come into play on the north side. So space really got limited really quickly where trees could be planted and be successful. Next is the photometric plan, so you can see that light will not be leaving the site from the spaces that are lit around the building, so making sure adjacent property owners are not adversely impacted by light off the building. Building renderings are on the screen too, so this view of the building is going to be really consistent with Lakeview with some of those pops of blue, so it'll look really consistent. And I think we'll start to build kind of that narrative of industrial development along Levi Griffin. And the end user for the first building, the 257,000 square foot building, is the Bernard Group. So they're headquartered in Chanhassen. They do point of purchase displays, interactive displays, I think for like trade shows, but also if you go into a local retailer, if there's a display, it likely was sourced by the Bernard Group. So it's warehousing, inventory storage, packaging, shipping, and receiving, all consistent with our industrial zoning district. And the Carver site is likely to have 50 employees, logistics personnel, warehouse associates, operation management on a 2-shift schedule, 6 days per week. So final plat is on the screen now. Jennifer, do you want to join us for the discussion?
Thanks for your patience. You picked the meeting where we were going pretty late.
I know, long night.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Jennifer Haskamp. I actually I'm a planner. I work with the Messenbrink team and help them with all of their entitlements. So they graciously asked me to come tonight on Monday night to sit through this nice long meeting, which was just fine. Before the meeting, I actually Googled and then also had Google lady tell me how to say ion/ion/ and there were about 4 different ways to say it, is what I can tell you. So you're all correct, is I think the conclusion. And whatever sounds the most pleasant to your ear is how you should say it. So that's my conclusion based on AI.
All right.
So.
Fantastic. Questions?
I have a question about, Erin, can you say the shifts again? You said it was two shift schedules, so a first and second shift, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
So not overnight, but a first, an AM and a PM. So
Okay.
it's not a standard 8 to 4 or anything like that.
Okay, so when My Pillow was here in town on 6th Street, and they were doing a third shift. And they got in a little bit of trouble for doing the third shift, but they also had CUP,
They did
right?
conditional
Okay,
use permit,
so they had a
yeah.
CUP there. So, do we have anything like ordinance-wise that would prohibit if they wanted to go to add a third shift, they could?
No. So site access would be available to them 24/7, which would largely be the thing that would happen, but they could operate a third shift should they need to.
Okay. So the heartburn, help me remember, the heartburn with when My Pillow was here was because it was centered in a residential location, right?
Correct.
And then I don't remember the CUP, is it how many years or was it something like that?
The CUP limited, it said they could not run a third shift,
Okay.
but they were, and
Okay,
since
so
it
that
was
was
in a
just
residential area, it was
Okay.
impactful.
Okay, and this is a different area of town. I just wanted to make sure and check that off the list that we weren't setting ourselves up for anything again.
I have
I don't have any questions.
no questions, and I have no concerns, knowing what some pain points were with the My Pillow, and part of it too, the location.
Yeah.
And unmaintained gravel parking lot, so
American
I think
questions.
we're good here.
Yep.
Eric?
No additional questions.
Okay. My only question is, you said very similar to the Chan development by Paisley Park. Is that the one where the Bernard Group is there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
This is an expansion. So they asked Messenbrink to find another site because they needed more space, and they found this site.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. Well, this is very exciting. I think we are done with questions. With that, I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 123-26, approving the final plat for the Ion Business Park.
I'll second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Sayer. Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco?
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad?
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer?
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman?
Aye.
Mayor Johnson?
Aye. Motion passes.
Oh,
thank you.
I have a question. Do we need two motions?
We do.
So I'll make a motion to approve and enter into a development agreement with Ion Industrial Park LLC for Ion Business Park.
Motion by Sayer,
I'll second.
second by Conrad. Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Welcome to Carver. We're excited.
They are too.
Shovels in the ground.
They're already doing some work out there.
Say they're already
Well,
in
not
the
the-
ground.
Well, by-
Grading.
But yes, so, very, very quick.
Awesome.
Answers for that.
Awesome. Congratulations. Happy to have you. Okay, up next, we have 8.3, the 2026 Street Maintenance Project Bid Award. Mr. Schmidt?
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Good news for everybody today. We opened bids last week on the street project, got very, very good numbers, which was great to see. Paving prices came in quite a bit lower than what we were estimating, so all good things at the end of the day here. So two actions tonight. There's two contract awards that are being considered here. One to Valley Paving, so they'd be doing the Main Street project this year. They came in with a low bid in the amount of about $1,230,000. They're out of Shakopee, Minnesota. Have done all kinds of work in the Twin Cities area, so no concerns there with Valley Paving. And then the second one was for the fog sealing project, so the trail fog sealing program that we have. Allied Blacktop was actually in town last year to do the same thing, so they did a really good job. Their low quote came in at about $19,500. So again, no concerns with Allied Blacktop. They're a good company. They do good work. So that would be for the trail fog sealing work. I guess in total for the updated project budget, we are looking at about $1.64 million for the revised budget. So that's $288,000 under what our preliminary estimates were from the pavement management plan. So again, all good things. This budget maintains a full 5% contingency along with all soft costs projected or anticipated to finish out the project. So again, this is great news for the city. Just as a reminder, we were contemplating multiple funding sources to complete the project using our street maintenance fund, MSA funds for Mount Hope Road, and then the utility enterprise funds for the utility pieces. Lastly, going into bids, we were thinking that we were gonna maybe have an interfund loan of about $300,000 for the sidewalk extension. With these favorable bids we received, that is gonna be significantly reduced, if not eliminated as part of this. So we're looking at, hopefully not having to use all that, if we don't use all the contingencies up, we hopefully won't have to have any kind of an interfund loan scenario for that sidewalk extension. So, I guess I'll keep it short and sweet unless we wanna talk about something else tonight, but we'd recommend, moving forward and approving those contracts.
So interfund loan, just so I'm clear, it would potentially be an interfund loan to a smaller amount than the 310 that we were assuming, but then that would be something that we would budget for our 2027 budget?
Correct, but we don't believe we're gonna need any of it.
Great, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Okay. And then start date?
I have not spoken with Allied yet, but Valley Paving, I spoke to the owner of that company, and he's thinking probably mid to late July is when they'll be starting on that one.
Great.
Completion date is October 9th as specified in the contract for substantial completion with a final project completion of October 30th. So,
Super.
And Steamboat Days is slipped in there.
and the week of Steamboat Days is off limits for the contract.
Can I go ahead?
Go.
All right, I'll make a motion to award a contract to Valley Paving Incorporated in the amount of $1,230,206.81 for the 2026 Street Improvements Project.
Motion by Conrad,
Second?
I'll second.
second by Pasco, sorry, Eric.
Hey, that's my neighborhood. I get to second.
Well, good thing we got one more to go. Let's see, any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes.
Eric, take this one.
I don't have it in front of me to read.
But he's really good at a second.
I'll make a motion to accept the quote from Allied Blacktop Company in the amount of $19,490 for the Trail Fog Seal project.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Conrad, second by Pershman. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. All right, let's fix some streets.
All right, thank you.
Okay, up next, city manager's report.
Nothing tonight, council.
Okay, let's do council requests and updates. Eric, do you want to go first?
Well, I'm going to let you talk about our visit to Carver Place. That was my only contribution, but I'll let you take it.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. A quick update. I attended a Southwest transportation, and they have the word coalition in it, and I just, at first, I really,
WCTC.
yeah. I have a hard time with that word, but Southwest Corridor Transportation Coalition, super interesting in how long the group got established, which is, coalition meant something different. And now that they've made such progress on 212, and the meeting covered that topic as well as the Highway 5. And then, interesting enough, they also had a presentation on Highway 7. So it was just really educational, too, to see the decades it takes to do this planning, and the decades it'll be until we see some of these changes. There was the mayor from Chaska, and then the mayor from Shorewood, who was new to the group because of wanting to continue the momentum that they have been able to do when you get the different groups and entities working together. So that's my update.
Thanks. Chris?
I just saw that the HPC meeting is canceled, so we won't have one of those this month. We did have the fire board meeting last Thursday or the Thursday before? Last Thursday. And it's funny that you brought up social media tonight with Tim, because that was one of my comments to them was, you're seeing a lot of this across the board now from different, fire departments,
Yeah.
police departments. And I said, I know they've done at least one or two that I've seen. So I asked if they had any intentions to do more, and they said yes. So, of course, we don't want to get any sticky situations with the songs that we're using. And any trademarking or copywriting issues, but,
Like a fire department by the same name?
yes, by Carver, Massachusetts, I think it was. Anyway, so it was a really great meeting. It's a nice group of people. If anyone ever wants to see the meeting packet, if you don't receive it, just ask and they'll send it to you. Has lots of graphs and different things about the fire calls and everything in it. So
Sounds fascinating.
it is fascinating. I'm trying to think if there was any highlights. Any highlights you can think of from that exactly? But the townships overall sound that they're really pleased with working with the City of Carver, and I do want to give some props out to our fire department. We did hear from one of the townships that this fire department and this city council is by far, we'll just say, very good to work with as compared to some they have worked with in the past. So I just think it's good to know that they have a trust factor with the Carver Fire, and that they appreciate the good working relationship that the townships have. So, and they made a point to say that, so I thought we should all know. That's all I have.
Kayla?
My only thing is just a heads up for everyone. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Carver County is having an opportunity for a free presentation done by NAMI, which is a nationally recognized organization that deals with mental health issues. Last year it was held here at the City of Carver. This year it's being held at the Cologne Community Center, but the topic is creating caring communities. and kind of what that looks like. It will be on Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Cologne Community Center. So if you are interested, look into that.
Thank you. My updates, on April 22nd, I had my annual Earth Day hike to the Cheese Cave. We saw Lori on the way back and had a really good turnout. The weather was great. It was almost too hot. Had just under 30 participants for that. On the 23rd, the Minnesota Mayor's Association had a meetup in Waite Park, and we toured the Ledge Amphitheater, which was super cool. I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
It's great.
It is so cool, and it's built on an old granite quarry, and it's using like ponds and natural features. It's built in kind of the side of a cliff, super cool. So we had the tour of that, and then we went to the Park Event Center, which was a TIF project that the City of Waite Park did, which is a couple of ballrooms and another really, really great project that was super cool. Lions Pork Chop Supper was on the 24th. The pork chops were fantastic, as always. Also on the 24th, at a more somber note, the Carver Fire Department was one of probably dozens of fire departments that took place in recognizing the honor transfer of Captain Willibard Bianchi, who is a Medal of Honor recipient and POW in World War II. They brought, he was killed in action in 1945, but his remains were only identified last summer. So they brought his remains from the airport back home to New Ulm, and Carver was along that route. So I was able to go with a couple of firefighters, and we sat on the overpass over 212, and just really cool to see. Let's see, last Monday I was interviewed by Jeff Wagner from WCCO TV for their Good Question segment. That's going to air tonight at 10 o'clock, and it was about communities and growth and how we plan for growth, which was a pretty easy interview because I could say we've got this plan and that plan and that plan and this plan and this plan, and we know that when we reach a certain threshold, we'll need to buy a new plow truck, and we'll have to hire a new public services individual. So, let's see, the Southwest Metro Chamber's First Responder Luncheon was last Wednesday, April 29th. The 4 fire departments in our 4 communities all had an honoree, as did the Carver County Sheriff's Department, and Chaska Police and Ridgeview. Our honoree was Chief Walsh, who did not know about it until we were standing up there on stage, which was pretty cool and took a Herculean effort by the fire department. So really cool to be part of that surprise. What was also cool too is there was another Carver firefighter. Some of our firefighters moonlight or work for 2 different fire departments. Alfred Bartels is one of them, and he works for Chanhassen Fire, and he was their honoree. So it was cool to see 2 Carver firefighters honored. That same night, there are very few privileges with this role, but one of them happened last Wednesday night where I got a tour of the new public safety facility in Chaska from Mayor Hubbard, and it was super cool. They've got a really cool facility over there, so when they do the public open house, make sure you don't miss it. Very cool. And then last was Thursday, as Councilmember Pershman mentioned, we visited Carver Place. We had 3 residents come and talk to us. We were there for about an hour. Really cool to be in there. You guys know that I try to visit Carver Crossing about once a year. This was my first time going to Carver Place. And all 3 of the folks, it was a couple and then 1 individual, everybody had moved to Carver from other area communities, so they were familiar. So it wasn't like a welcome to Carver, this is our history. But lots of good questions, lots of questions on growth and development. And just a really great group. Am I forgetting anything, Eric? Or anything that I didn't highlight that you would have?
No, I think you got it.
Okay. Let's see, what else do I have here? And then last Saturday, I had my mayor's office hours and talked to 4 Carver residents. So that was fun. Just a few other things. On Wednesday, Les Schwab is opening, so super exciting. I stopped by there a few weeks ago and got a little bit of a tour. one of their things for Les Schwab is they always have free popcorn, so swing in, say hi and get some popcorn. There was last week the Carver County Board had a work session, and one of the topics was voting and elections. And I'm gonna forward you an email that I shared with the Carver County Mayor's Group. But they were talking about elections, and for the 2026 election, they have moved departments in their government building, and they're gonna have extra space for absentee ballots. So instead of having, I think it was like 1 or 2 teams going through absentee ballots, they're gonna be able to accommodate as many as 5. Then they started looking ahead, and as, maybe you guys know, maybe you don't, the county is planning to rebuild that building, because it's time, it's not in good shape, and there are actually portions of it that they can't work in because it's deteriorating to such a level. The plans for the new building don't have any space designated for absentee voting or where that could take place. And they're hoping to have the cities take that over, which I have some mixed feelings on. That wouldn't be until probably 2030, but it's something that I want on everybody's radar. So I will send that email to Brent to forward along to you and just have some call outs. So 2026 will probably be the last, well, I forget the timing of that building, but there will be, voting in that building, and then there'll be a time where they're under construction. But the new building, at this point, they identified in that work session, there's no room for absentee collection.
So they would want the cities to collect and store?
They would want absentee voting to take place at the cities. You know how you go to the county and you vote there? They would want the cities to do that.
Would
Right?
they be providing funding for space and staff?
To be determined, that's a really good question. And even then, the funding, like this is something that depending on how long you do it for, it's something that absolutely has to be staffed. You can't have one person doing it and then they close down for lunch. Like the ballots have to be watched, and there has to be that chain of custody. And it can't just be one person, it has to be a couple. And there have to be election judges. We can't have a summer seasonal do this. So, very easily be a topic for a different council, but I just want to put it on the radar because it was something that they seemed to be really excited about getting the cities to handle it.
Of course they were.
So, and then only other thing was last Friday we had Carver County mayors, and this was one of the topics that we discussed. So that is it for me. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm just, sorry, I'm just processing what you just said.
I just thought you wanted to stay here longer.
I do, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilmember Conrad.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Sayer. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Conrad.
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Good evening.